Hello, this is part one in a three-part series on how to make a hat for beginners. And all you will need to get things started is 1 to 2 skeins of yarn and maybe size JK or L of crochet hook. I like plastic, as you'll see on the website, but it's really up to you. And you'll begin with a slip knot, and that's kind of the foundation for all crochet work. And you'll do that by making a loop and then taking the end that's attached to the skein and drawing that behind the loop and through. And then use your crochet hook to get in under that second loop that was just drawn through. Then tighten your two ends and you will have a slip knot. You can see why it's a slip knot, because you could slip it on or off the crochet hook, but we want to tighten it so that it sits nicely on the hook. Then take that same end that's attached to the skein and wrap it around the index finger of the opposite hand that you want to use for your crocheting work. So the hook should be in one hand, kind of holding it like a soup spoon, and then the yarn that's attached to the skein should be wrapped around the index finger of that opposite hand. And I like to hold the disconnected piece of the yarn between the two fingers that aren't doing any work. So on the same hand that you have the yarn wrapped around the index finger, you might want to hold that other piece of yarn out of the way, at least to begin with, and it helps to kind of steady things as you're learning. Then we're going to do a chain stitch, also a very foundational stitch for any and all crochet work. And you do that by what is called yarning over. You'll see that YO in a lot of crochet instructions, and it just means yarn over, and that's what you're doing. You're drawing the yarn over the hook by placing the hook underneath it and then pulling the yarn through, and we just made a chain stitch, and that's all there is to it. You're going to want 5 of these for this hat instruction. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and you know, do 4, do 6. Here it's not imperative that you count your chains, but I'm just used to starting with 5, so that's the way I go. And to connect back up to our first stitch, you'll see that I pushed the hook through that original single chain, and I'm going to draw yarn over and draw the yarn all the way through both of those chains. And all I'm doing is connecting to make a ring. And that ring is what we're going to work off of to get our foundation of our hat set up. And I'm going to also, just a little tip here, I'm going to work that loose end, the disconnected end of my yarn, into my stitches, so that at the end, the whole end of the hat, I'll be able to come back, I'll be able to pull on that end, and I'll kind of tighten this hole up, and then I won't have a little hole in the top of my hat. So just something to consider. Probably not vital to the whole structure of the hat, but just a nice little added feature. Then take the hook and push it through the center of the ring. Yarn over and draw it through. And instead of drawing it all the way through the loop that's on your hook, you're going to just draw it through up above the surface of the ring and leave it on your hook. So now you have 2 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over a second time, this time not within the ring but outside of it, and so pull that through the 2 loops that were resting on your hook, and now you have a single crochet. And that is the standard rhythm of single crochet, and we'll do that again 10 times to get around the ring. So that was 1, and I'm drawing through the ring, and then I'm yarning over and bringing that through the 2 loops, and that's the second single crochet. And you'll start to see a pattern, it'll become familiar to you, and you'll catch on in no time. So that's the third, and you see how much more quickly it goes as you get a rhythm started. Go through the ring, draw up, yarn over again, draw through the 2 loops. And that's the way you'll go until you get around to where you began, which will be 10 single crochets, and then you'll begin going through the single crochets with more single crochets, but this time you're going to double up, so you'll do 2 single crochets in each of the previous layer of single crochets, and you'll end up with 20. And that's where we'll begin developing the pattern for the hat. And stay tuned for part 2 in our video series to get all of that instruction. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Good luck.